Hello, I'm Darren Slack with NFA's QB Cast, your weekly prep talk podcast designed to help you set your thermostat and to prepare you to play your best on game day. Well, it's week 7 for some of you and others it's less, but wherever you are in the season, we're seeking to help you gain a competitive advantage for your game day. Now, we've been talking about mid-season challenges the past few weeks, and on today's episode, we continue with 2 important issues facing all of us this time of year. Maximize listening, manage laziness. First, let's discuss how to maximize listening. Not just hearing, not just listening, but maximize our listening to get the most out of what we're learning from coaches, teachers, and parents, and others who are speaking into our lives. This is a critical aspect of our maturity as players. I would bet that right now, with the start of a new grading period and the season well underway, that you may be growing a bit weary of having coaches, teachers, and parents, and others take turns offering their best-intentioned corrections to just about everything you're doing. It's a completely understandable response to what seems like a disproportionate amount of adult input. But keep in mind, all these people, coaches, teachers, and parents, have a passionate interest in seeing you succeed at this very busy time of the year. Also remember that football, school prep for college, and preparing for manhood are all things you asked for help to do them from these people. It may not seem like it, but if they're on your case, they're just keeping their promise to do what you asked them to do. I know that may be difficult to hear, but it's what we need to know. You're probably at the highest level of busyness at this moment, and that can add stress to everything we do, especially our patience for listening. So here's a few things to consider to maximize your listening. Realize that you're likely more fatigued and stressed right now, so this will shorten your attention span and tend to make you more irritable internally to correction. In simple terms, you're tired, so you irritate more easily hearing correction and more things you have to do. Now, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt by saying you're irritated internally, because if you're getting irritated openly at coaches, teachers, and parents, you're already losing ground in this area. Like being thirsty or hungry are signs that the body is late to receive nourishment. Open irritability and ignoring authority is a sign you need to check your thermostat attitude and reset it to 68 and breezy like we talked about in our first episode. I would bet that if you're arguing with them, you're hearing them say things like, "You aren't listening to me," or "You're hearing me, but you aren't listening." I get it. You heard what they said, but what they mean is you don't see how your actions are affecting them, the team, or others. You aren't putting into action what they want, and that means you're not listening. This is where we can maximize listening by admitting our fatigue and frustration, own our responsibility for the mistakes we made and our attitudes, and ask questions about how we're missing the point. On the football field, if you're irritated, talking back, or expressing open frustration to your coaches, look around at your life. What do you want that you don't seem to be getting from them? Is it respect? Is it playing time? Is it gratitude for effort? Freedom to throw the ball more, or audible plays? First, it's a good idea to pinpoint what's got you upset and then engage some healthy self-talk in the mirror about your self-pity, pride, and not getting your way. Then I challenge you to take the more difficult step and have the courage to sit down privately with a coach and explain your outbursts. Don't try to convince them that you're right. You're not. What you're doing is apologizing for your bad attitude and actively pursuing an opportunity to listen to what they're trying to get across to you that you seem to be missing. If you're frustrated, chances are so are they. And maximizing listening when trying to make things right isn't trying to prove you're right. It's seeking to understand why the coach is on you so hard. The same is true if it's a teacher or a parent trying to get your attention about something in the classroom or in the living room. Maturity isn't living a mistake-free life. It's owning your responsibility by maximizing listening. It's having the humility and care for others to check your ego, stop the frustration cycle, and really hear what coaches, teachers, and parents are trying to say to you. I know it's a difficult step, but that's how you grow up quickly. I know you feel you need what you don't have, and it seems more real than what I'm talking about. But in my experience, when I've stepped back, humbled myself, and really asked hard questions about what I need to hear from those speaking into my life, I often get the respect, gratitude, and freedom I wanted all along, but only after I took the step to humble myself. In your life, how others perceive you as a person, what they believe about how you make them feel, and whether they feel important in your life is directly connected to this one thing: listening. Everyone has a sign around their neck that says, "Make me feel important." And listening to them, especially if they're an authority over you, is the most practical, respectful way to make them feel important. Here's a few more practical thoughts on maximizing listening through something called active listening. If the situation allows, learn to say back in different words what you believe you heard from a coach, a teacher, or a parent. So if your coach describes something you want you to do while watching film or working on plays on the whiteboard, say something back to him like, okay, so you want me to, and then fill in the words he said in your own words. This goes a long way to telling that you heard him, you understood him, and you'll be accountable to him. If you aren't clear on what he said, ask probing questions to get clear, and then say it all back. It will shorten the meeting, it'll reduce the amount of times he feels he has to tell you something, and it'll make you feel better and more confident about it. This works with teachers and parents too. Frankly, this works with anyone. If you really want to blow an adult's mind, pull out your phone and ask if you can take notes while they're speaking. Use that device for something other than texting and selfies, and that'll really make a positive impression. Now, if you can't bring your phones to class or to the meetings, have an old-fashioned notepad and a pen open and ready to write. Send the message early that you are engaged. Now, here's a little secret. If you're really tired, the note-taking will force you to pay attention, and the outward action of taking notes will cover for any fatigue you may be experiencing. Use nonverbal techniques such as sit up in your chair, lean forward, make eye contact, smile. Use appropriate facial expressions and don't get distracted. Respond affirmatively with words. These are all very helpful active listening techniques that really make an impression on a coach, a parent, or a teacher. Things like okay, and yeah responses don't inspire confidence from any authority figure. Practice active listening by restating what you heard, and I promise you'll find a whole new level of respect and opportunity coming from coaches, teachers, and parents. The reason they don't respond to the one-word indifferent responses of and okay and yeah is because it falls into the category of what we have to talk about next that challenges all of us this time of year. We have to manage laziness. Laziness is the quality of being unwilling to work or use energy to complete a task. Everyone experiences laziness, period. Even the most diligent person has a measure of laziness in them. You may not see it in public, but each person deals with that desire in themselves to choose selfishness by not stepping up in a situation and imposing on another's energy, goodwill, or their resources. Teammates who take a play off or don't go hard in pursuit because it didn't go to their side. Receivers who don't run routes at full speed because they think they're only a decoy and won't get the ball thrown to them. I'm sure you've experienced that before. Or quarterbacks who go through the motions of the run game or drills because they're bored during week 7 of practice. Regardless of the motive, laziness is the poison that will destroy a good football season. Laziness is the most common temptation to any athlete because in football, it's a team sport. So we presume upon our teammates to take up the slack for us when we don't want to get it done. That happens all the time. Laziness must be regarded as enemy number one to a quarterback or any high-performance athlete. The moment you let your guard down, you're susceptible to making dumb mistakes that you'll wish you could do over again. So how do we combat laziness in ourselves, especially during the midseason when we're really bored? First, you have to admit that you're lazy and bored. You can't fix what you don't see. There are many lazy young men on football teams who aren't giving their best effort, but they can't see that they aren't. We choose to settle on a certain amount of energy we'll expend for our teammates in practice and in games, and the minute we do that, regardless of the level we play at, we're lazy. Laziness isn't something you can compare yourself to others in. Laziness is entirely based on what you know you're capable of doing. Just because you work a little harder than the other guy, that doesn't mean you aren't guilty of laziness. There's only one standard as it relates to laziness. It's either all-out effort or you're being lazy. You cannot selectively commit your energy to the team. From the moment you hit the practice field to the moment you leave, from the moment the lights turn on for game day to the moment they're off, you must go full speed, mentally, emotionally, and physically. There is no calculation. There is no context where you don't give your best effort for the team. Every rep, every meeting, every drill, and every moment, you must go hard. Laziness will come, so here's a few things to focus on when you're tempted to be lazy. You know, we move the chains on the field, so we need to move the chains the same way in our mindset and effort, especially when laziness creeps in. We take each moment as its own. We fight to engage and get that first down, mentally and emotionally. When we want to give up, we got to move the chains. We leave each context having moved those chains one more time, and each first down builds our resolve to keep doing it. We build momentum against laziness. Another thing you can do is think about why you play this game. Remember your teammates, friends, and those counting on you to give your best. Remember your promise to them on a better day when you wouldn't give up and wouldn't give in. That's what you said. Now, get vocal with self-talk about the reasons you enjoy what you're doing. Speak from your will, not your emotions. Declare what's true, even if you don't feel it in the moment. There's something about telling yourself that you want to be here out loud that helps reduce laziness. It's not something to joke about. It's a real challenge that must at times, when you're losing the battle in your mind, be taken public, out loud, and on purpose. I will do this well because I love my teammates. I love what I'm doing and it's a privilege to do it. I will continue to give my best because I choose to do so for my coaches and my team. Now, we can also get vocal toward others with gratitude and encouragement and leadership thoughts that take your mind to a more positive and productive place than stepping back and withdrawing. Laziness starts with a simple step back mentally, emotionally, and physically, and we can't let that happen. We as leaders must step forward when we feel ourselves starting to slip. Finally, plan a small reward for your effort. You know what you like or want to do when you're done. Mentally set aside a thought about something that you look forward to doing, and that will add to the motivation to keep pushing forward. Every moment you keep striving is 1 minute closer to what you want, and that's never a bad thing. Laziness must be confronted aggressively because it makes us passive. It must be attacked openly because it makes us close down. It must be addressed at the outset of everything you do because it lurks at the door, awaiting any moment it can find to slip in and do its best to take your best from you. Laziness is a season killer. More teams and their playoff runs end early because of this than any other thing. Be the leader that won't let that happen to himself or to his teammates. Even if you don't win it all, you'll know that you won the battle that mattered most. You beat laziness, and that leaves no regret and earns you the respect of all who see you achieve it. Now, I hope that's encouraging to you. We're proud of what you're trying to accomplish for your team, and I want to wish you the best of luck this week. We'll see you next week after you bring home the victory.